The St. Louis Blues and the Edmonton Oilers have both fired their head coach and named replacements. In this video, we're going to discuss the replacements and whether or not they can get these teams turned around. We'll discuss all that coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, we have two NHL coaches falling victims today and both being fired. Now, Mike Yeo of the St. Louis Blues was fired really late last night after their game against the LA Kings. That news broke here right around, I think it was around 1 o'clock in the morning or so where I live. So as I was getting prepared to make a video discussing the Yeo firing and his replacement, news broke that the Edmonton Oilers have also announced that Todd Mclellan, head coach, has been dismissed as well. So I figured we might as well just do one video here. We'll discuss both coaches going down here and what the replacements are and what their plans for these teams might be moving forward. But first of all, let's get started with the St. Louis Blues since that news broke first. Of course, the Blues have been shut out in 3 of their last 4 games. We knew that Mike Yeo was kind of on shaky ground here and that there was certainly a pretty good probability that he could end up being fired soon if this team didn't get things turned around. I mean, we've discussed a couple of occasions that the Blues just haven't been going well and that he was at high risk here of being let go, and that's exactly what happened after last night's game against the Los Angeles Kings, another game of being shut out. Doug Armstrong has made the decision here to move on from Mike Yeo. Mike Yeo has been the head coach of the St. Louis Blues for parts of 3 seasons with a record of 73, 49, and 11. Didn't have a whole lot of success. Obviously, this year hasn't gone well. Last year, they missed the playoffs by 1 point and were very inconsistent as well. Of course, as many of you probably remember, Mike Yeo originally started his coaching career with the Minnesota Wild. After being let go in Minnesota, I believe he was there for 4 or 5 seasons. He was snatched up by the St. Louis Blues as an assistant coach to then head coach Ken Hitchcock. It was pretty much made apparent at that point in time that Hitchcock was only going to be remaining the head coach here for a short stint, and Mike Yeo would eventually take over. So they'd already named Hitchcock's successor in Mike Yeo while they were still working together. It was kind of a different situation that you don't usually see. I mean, there's always times around the NHL where you see an assistant coach kind of being groomed as the next head coach. You just don't often see cases where it's kind of discussed publicly by the team and they kind of reveal their longer-term plan here. Obviously, they saw something in Mike Yeo that they really liked and thought he would be an excellent head coach for this team, but things obviously just did not work out since he's taken over from Hitchcock. I mean, they did have a decent first season with him, and ever since then it's been very inconsistent and just not getting the job done. The team's defense has been terrible. Goaltending has been shaky. They have been able to score goals earlier in the season. They were scoring a lot, but they weren't defending well. Couldn't keep the puck out of their own net. Lately, they are defending better, but they're not scoring anymore. So it's kind of a yin and yang approach here. So this team needs to get balanced out. The new head coach on an interim basis is assistant coach Craig Berube. Berube was originally hired as an assistant coach to Mike Yeo back in the summer of 2017. Before that, he was coaching the St. Louis Blues American Hockey League affiliate. Berube does have some prior NHL head coaching experience briefly with the Philadelphia Flyers. So Berube should be a pretty decent coach for this team, but I'm not entirely convinced that they can get this turned around without making some additional moves here. I mean, this team has not performed well. They're almost worse than last year, even though they made a lot of significant moves over the summer. I mean, they signed some pretty decent free agents. They made a big trade, bringing in Ryan O'Reilly, and this team is just not getting it done. It very well might take a big trade to really shake up the core of this team, to really get some better results and get things moving here in the right direction. You certainly can't help but question the core leadership group of this team as well. Captain Alex Pietrangelo, being right at the center of that as well. You can't help but wonder if maybe a bigger move like that might be necessary. I know a lot of people like to point the finger at goaltender Jake Allen, and I will agree that he has been inconsistent at times, but as of late, I thought he's played pretty well. I mean, he can't do everything for this team. He can't score goals. They've been shut out in 3 of the past 4 games, so you can't put that on Jake Allen. You do expect NHL goalies, even the good ones that are playing consistently well, to allow a few goals here and there, and it can't be a backbreaker for the team when you can't even score, 1 or 2 to get your team back in it. So I do think lately it's been more of a scoring issue. Before it was a defensive issue. Like a quote from Doug Armstrong said, the front of the net was like a 7-Eleven. It was always open, which, they were giving up a lot of second opportunities and third opportunities, and the defensive coverage was just not getting it done at all. So the goaltenders were having a pretty hard time back there. So I don't know if it's really fair to put too much of it on them, but I do know that Jake has been, it's certainly inconsistent at times, but I don't think he's the bulk of the problem here. I do think they need to create a better balanced team. Coming out of training camp, I was happy with the St. Louis Blues. Looked like they were going to give more opportunity to some of their younger players like Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou and Sammy Blais. I mean, I do like a lot of the free agent acquisitions they made during the offseason, but my concern was the team might not be fast enough, so getting some more youth in there to kind of balance out that experience and get some more speed going, I thought would complement the team well, but that has not happened at all. So let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Do you think new head coach Craig Berube will be able to get this team going in the right direction? Now, Doug Armstrong also made it known that this is only an interim head coach, and they are going to be working on searching for a more permanent head coach. He did say as well during that press conference that he was not going to be talking about it any further beyond today until they had something to announce. So obviously they are going to be looking out on the market and different free agent coaches that are available, whether they be experienced or not. They're going to obviously evaluate Berube as he goes along here as well and make a decision sometime in the near future, which we don't really know exactly when it's going to be, on who will be the permanent head coach. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to hire somebody as a permanent coach this season. They very well might let Berube kind of ride it out. It's kind of up in the air. It's going to depend on who they talk to and who they feel might be a good coach for this team moving forward, and if they can find that right fit. If not, they very well might let Berube play out the season. I guess time will tell there. But don't expect any further updates on that situation until the Blues appear to be ready to announce something, when it's really hard to say when and if that's going to happen. Now, on the other side here, we got the Edmonton Oilers. Todd Mclellan is yet another victim here. The head coaching carousel continues this season. Obviously, last year was a bit of an anomaly where we didn't really see any head coaches at all fired. I mean, I know technically Alain Vigneault was fired before the NHL was officially over, but the Rangers season had come to an end when it was announced, even though there was 1 day left on the schedule. The Rangers season was over. So really, as far as I'm concerned, last season, no coaches were fired until the season was over. And obviously this year, things are going much differently here. We have 2 in 1 day now, with the Oilers being the latest of a team who looks like they really tuned out their coach and just can't get anything going on a consistent basis. I think the Oilers roster has a lot of holes. There's a lot of issues with that team, and I think a lot of it is not just on Todd McLellan. It goes on general manager Peter Chiarelli and the whole management group. In my opinion, they have done a really poor job at managing their prospects and developing them. You got a youngster in Jesse Puljujarvi, who's just another in the long line of latest prospects who are developing slowly. I'm not really sure that he's being handled properly with his development, so there's certainly a case for that. I mean, you've got talent like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl being wasted, really. I mean, but if you look at the goaltending's been inconsistent. The defense hasn't been fabulous as well. They got some elite forwards. Nugent Hopkins, I think, has played well. I do think guys like Alex Chiasson and Drake Caggiula have certainly been, pleasant surprises, putting in some timely goals. I think Chiasson has 8, and I think Caggiula has 6. So really, for what they're doing and what's expected of them, not too bad. But again, some of their younger forwards like Puljujarvi and Yamamoto are down in the minors. We saw Ty Rattie have an awesome preseason, but hasn't followed that up with a tremendous regular season. Got off to a decent start in the first few games, then he got hurt. Now he's been back and trying to find his rhythm again as well. So I do think there's a lot of issues with that Oilers team. Now, the one surprising part about this is McLellan is out, and the new head coach is Ken Hitchcock. Ken Hitchcock last summer announced his retirement. I do find it kind of funny here that Ken Hitchcock is hired by the Oilers on the same day that Mike Yeo was fired. Obviously, Hitchcock was the prior coach of the Blues, as I had mentioned, and Yeo was brought in to be his successor once Hitchcock was ready to move on, which they said would be in the short term. Hitchcock did end up going to the Dallas Stars and coaching them for a season, which really was not a good match in my opinion. And of course, now he's moved on from there, but it was announced that he was retiring, and now I guess he's coming out of retirement here yet again to coach the Edmonton Oilers. Now, Ken Hitchcock has been a tremendous coach over the years. He's got a lot of success, very well-respected hockey man. I'm not really sure he's what this Oilers team needs, but I guess we'll see. Give it a chance here. I haven't seen any details yet about if they've signed him to any kind of contract or if he is indeed a permanent head coach. I can't imagine somebody of his stature taking an interim tag, so I would think that he probably has a permanent position for the remainder of this season. I wouldn't imagine they've kind of locked him up anything longer than that. Hitchcock may not be interested in a long-term gig here anyway. Kind of hard to say, but I guess more details here will emerge on that situation between the Oilers and Hitchcock, as that news just literally broke as I was sitting down to start recording the video discussing the situation in St. Louis. As we know, Todd McLellan had a ton of success in San Jose before becoming the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers. He's another guy who's learned a lot in the past from Mike Babcock, a good protege of his. McLellan's had a pretty decent past history as a head coach. He's another well-respected hockey man. But really, in my opinion, between him and Chiarelli, neither one of them I don't think has really got the job done here. But I think more of this is on Chiarelli. He's assembled this roster, and this roster is just not built properly to win. I mean, they had some success a couple years ago going to the second round of the playoffs. But now that's looking like a massive overachievement, as they have not been able to sustain that level of success since. And the team that we saw last year and this year, it looks like this is the real Edmonton Oilers that we're seeing here. So it's unfortunate. They got so much talent, and they have a generational type player in McDavid that's being wasted right now. Hopefully they can get things turned around, maybe go through a different approach here and get better at developing their prospects. That is going to be something that is huge for this team moving forward. I mentioned in a video yesterday talking about some potential moves that could be coming for the Edmonton Oilers, that they might be seeing some significant changes, and I did mention, and I thought head coach Todd Mclellan very well might become a victim here in the short term, as a guy like Peter Chiarelli is going to do what he can to save his job, and right now it's going to buy him a little bit more time by making a coaching change, maybe follow it up here with a fairly significant trade. It would not surprise me to see that here in the short term as well. And we'll see if the Oilers can get turned around and Chiarelli can save his job. Otherwise, I think he'll be out of a job here soon enough as well. So again, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. What do you think of either of these coaching changes? Do you think it's really going to make a significant difference? Or do you think they really need to make some additional moves here, because these rosters are just not built to win? If you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.